Hi guys, Buildzoid here, and I hope you're not bored of RAM overclocking, because that's right, we're doing more RAM overclocking today. So this right here is what I refer to as the very large quantity of sketchy Samsung B die. So as you can see, I have 3 sticks here, so logically it was a kit of 4. 64 gig kit of Samsung B die, spec'd for 3200 CL16. Let's see if I can actually hold this up to the camera properly. I can. Right? Corsair, Vengeance, LED, R LEDs, no RGB LEDs, just R. They're just red, right? And it's B-die, and I know for a fact that it's B-die, even though it's 3200 CL16, because Corsair puts a version number on their memory modules, and that version number says 4.31, which tells us that it's the number 4 tells us it's Samsung, 3 tells us it's 8 gigabit, and the 1 tells us it's the first die, 8 gigabit, which or at least I think that's how it works. There might be a 4.30, and I'm having a really hard time like coordinating where my hand has to be relative to the camera, which is why the stick keeps moving off frame. Anyway, yeah, but anyway, like I think that's how the version numbers work for Corsair DIMMs. But anyway, so this is Samsung B-die. I know for a fact that 4.31 is B-die. And it's 3200 CL16, 1818, 38, or no, 36 at 1.35 volts. So that is what I consider the trash bin of XMP speeds, right? Like that's the XMP where you expect to get literally every memory chip under the sun, a lot of which are really bad. And they end up in the 3200 CL16 bin because they don't go over 3200 CL16. However, this being a 4x16 memory kit, it is, you know, dual rank DIMMs, which actually, since, like, so dual rank DIMMs, and I'll have to get the camera to refocus first, so there we go. B2 PCB layout, so you can see memory chips on both sides of the memory stick, which is one way to tell that it's a dual rank stick, and you can also see that you have the memory chips in groups of 4 at each end of the, like on either side of the stick at each end of the stick, which tells us it's a B2 layout. If it was a B0 PCB, then we'd have memory chips just at regular intervals down the whole length of the stick, but on a B2, there's just a big empty space right down the center, right? You can see how there's just a big gap between all of the memory chips right down the center of the DIMM. So that's how you can identify that this is a B2 PCB, which is a good thing, because the B2 PCB is the more modern layout for DDR4 memory sticks than B0. That's why B0 was first. It was the first dual rank layout for these memory chips. And B2 should generally support higher frequencies. It should be better supported by more well, these days it's better supported by more motherboards. If you actually go back to like really old motherboards, you might find that they actually really don't play well with the newer PCB layouts, but that's not a concern here because I'm on the MSI Z490 Unify with a 10900K. So yeah, let's see what the 2 sticks that I randomly pulled from the kit can do, because I've not run them at all, and I figured, hey, let's just, like, I'll just take you through the sort of first time overclocking process. So, yeah, let's get into it. And I'm not going to load up any profiles, so we're just going to set the... Actually, no, I don't want turbo ratio. I want to set the CPU to 50, 45. So we're just going to do like a very basic CPU overclock here. Unfortunately, the cooling system... Well, the AIO is fine. It's a 280mm EVGA AIO with the fan speed completely maxed out. But the thing is... Actually, no, I want to enable the XMP first. No, the thing is, I have a graphite thermal pad under it, so we can't run anything super heavy because it's going to overheat very quickly. Yeah. And actually, so 1000 kilohertz on this board is broken, if I remember correctly. And actually, we don't need to touch that. And we're going to go like that. And we're going to go override 1.36. We're just going to be running some Geekbench, so I'm not too concerned about that. And the reason why we're going to be running some Geekbench is because, well, the AI, like the graphite pad can't keep up with the heat output of a 10900K. So anyway, yeah, that's all we're gonna do for now, and restart, and hopefully the XMP works, and we're gonna run Geekbench 3 with the XMP enabled, and then we'll see how far I can push them. I've run other Corsair dual rank DIMMs on this motherboard, and they've gone all the way. Actually, I think this is a more normal B2 PCB compared to what I've run in the past. So I run B2-based Corsair Dominators, which have a very custom PCB from Corsair, and I'm not sure if the Vengeance sticks use that same like level of... Because the thing is, like, the Dominator PCB has like a bunch of... Well, it depends which Dominators you're looking at, but there's like a exposed power strip and that... Well, ground strip for extra heat sinking, but I don't think... Like, the Vengeance sticks, I think, use a more normal PCB. And the reason why I'm actually mentioning that is the Dominator PCB can be a bit weird with some motherboards. But the Dominator's dual rank on this board went all the way up to 4266. Or they can go up to 4266. It's not super consistent once you get up to high speeds like that. Unfortunately, the capture card is being very cooperative today. Oh, right, I'm on a NVIDIA GPU again, so this isn't gonna work. Hell yeah. Yeah, for some reason, the capture card hates NVIDIA GPUs. I have no idea why. Anyway, yeah, so hopefully, like, my goal is to go over 4,000 on these, but I don't know, like, if they're really, like, I'm not sure if the DIMMs are good. That's the whole point of this video, is we're going to find out. I'm not going to do anything extreme right now. I want to keep this relatively short, so we're not going to, like, I'm not going to fully test the DIMMs, because you don't fully test a memory kit in 30 minutes. Arguably not even in an hour. Especially since I don't have, like, a ton of, like, the only other dual rank Samsung B-Die DIMMs I have are the Corsair Dominators, so it's like I don't actually have a lot of test criteria or a lot of experience with dual rank B-Die DIMMs to compare against. So, yeah, we're not going to do, like, a full test. I just want to see, like, some basic low voltage stuff. So 1.5 volts, how far can, like, so up to 1.5 volts, how far can we push it? So stock performance is pretty decent, 6,620 points, because, well, it's dual rank, so we've got that rank interleaving going on. I'm just going to note down the memory score, and we're going to move on to pushing these DIMMs. We're not going to run IDA because IDA's memory test isn't really that great, in my opinion. I don't like it that much. Like, ideally, we'd be running LinPack for performance testing, but LinPack takes a long time, and it's also really hot. And as I mentioned, the current cooling situation here is suboptimal. So we're not going to do that. So the first thing I'm wondering is, like, anecdotally, what I've kind of noticed from other people who do buy very expensive memory kits, a lot of the 4x16 kits are often binned really loose for compatibility reasons. So you'll have actually, like, really good memory chips at really awful specs, because if you run quad rank, like, this is a 4x16 kit originally, right? We're only running 2 sticks because I might have no self-esteem, but I'm not masochistic enough to run, you know, quad rank B-Die on an Intel mainstream memory controller. Actually, I don't think I would... Well, the thing is, if I was on X299, we wouldn't be in quad rank, so it wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, I have no interest in dealing with quad rank B-Die on a mainstream Intel memory controller, so that's why I'm only running the 2 sticks. But the thing is, if you did run this kit quad rank, like, that's part of why the spec is so loose, is just like, well, if it was 3200 CL14 by spec, there's potential for issues. And then also, I think Corsair for the longest time just straight up didn't have a 3200 CL14 bin, period. So it's like, if they had really good memory chips, they would just kind of end up in a 3200 CL16 because they didn't have a better bin. Or, well, if they had pretty good memory chips, they would still end up in something like a 3200 CL16, which is like how my Corsair Dominator Platinum Special Edition sticks, which are like 3466 CL16, which is pretty much a Hynix CJR bin, is actually really good B die on my kit. And it's like, well, yeah, that's how that works. Anyway, so let's see if this works. I'm not going to raise the voltage yet, because I'm wondering is like, did they bin these super loose, or did these legit not do 3200 CL14? That's kind of what I'm wondering. I'm hoping to be in, like, I'm hoping that I'm correct, that they just bin them super loose and these are actually 3214 capable modules. Now, obviously, just the fact that they boot 3214 doesn't tell us that they're stable, and Geekbench doesn't tell us that they're stable either, but it's a better indicator than, you know, like nothing at all. Ideally, you'd have to, like, well, to check stability, you'd actually want to run, like, memtest, to at least 100%, if not 400%. Actually, 400% is kind of the minimum you should run. Like, 100% as a quick check, sure. 400% if you actually intend to use the system, and if the system is mission critical, you probably want to go up to like 1000% memory coverage. So, yeah, that's kind of the thing. So just the fact that we can run Geekbench here doesn't really mean anything, but there's a lot of modules out there that, like, won't even boot 3214. So at the very least, these can't be completely terrible, because they seem to be running this just fine. Unless the motherboard did something weird and loosened out the settings. There's a chance it did that. So we'll have to just check CPU Z quickly. The other thing is the IDA memory test is even lighter than the Geekbench, like Geekbench for stability. So that's the other reason why I don't really like using IDA when testing memory sticks. Yeah. So the performance uplift is like basically non-existent because previously we were getting 6,620 points, and now we're getting 6,753 points. And the crazy thing about dual rank is that it hides a lot of the inefficiency due to loose timings. So if you have a dual rank memory kit, and you tighten up the timings, the performance gain, like if you do the same timing adjustment on a dual rank memory configuration, the performance, the percent gain in performance is smaller than if you did that same adjustment on a single rank kit. Now, ultimately, the dual rank kit is still faster than the single rank kit at the exact same settings, but, like, I'm not expecting massive performance gains by, you know, changing the primaries here, because it's dual rank. And once you go up to quad rank, it's even worse. Like, you can change every single timing and it barely makes a difference. So anyway, that ran. So let's just start walking up the frequency. So actually, we didn't need to check CPU Z because the performance went up a little bit. So we know for a fact it was running at least 3200, because otherwise the performance would have gone down, because Geekbench is super sensitive to frequency. So we're going to go to 3466. And the thing is, like, what I'm doing right now is not something you should copy if you don't have a B-die memory kit. Okay, like a Samsung B-die memory kit, because there's also Micron Rev B, which in a lot of software will self-identify as B-die. But that stuff behaves completely differently. So the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing here is like, well, it's B-die. I know for a fact it's Samsung B-die, and therefore I am doing typical good Samsung B-die things, expecting, you know, results that I like, expecting things to behave the way I've seen them behave in the past. If I had no idea whatsoever what this kit is, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. I'd be doing this very differently. We should probably save a profile at this point. We're just going back into the BIOS immediately because, like, 3466 is low. Like, that's really slow. So I want to see 3733. And that works. Cool. Awesome. If it didn't work, I'd be very disappointed. Well, if it needed like TRCD 15 or something, that would still be fine, but yeah, if you needed to loosen out TCL at this point, I'd be kind of disappointed. So I don't think 3866 at CL14 should work with 1.5 volts, but let's see. Impress me. So we're actually going to go all the way into Windows with this, because a lot of, like, one of the sort of lazy binning, like, I recently went through all of my single rank B-die kits, and I think I went through every single stick individually, and I tested them all for 4000 CL14 Geekbench minimum voltage. So what was the minimum voltage in order to finish Geekbench 3? And basically the variance I had was like my worst sticks were like 1.63 volts or something like that, and my best sticks were 1.53 volts. And then there was like a bunch, like I had a bunch of sticks that were 1.6. It was really weird actually. I didn't really have any like 1.57 volt sticks. It was like I had some really, like all the good ones were sort of around the same voltage, and all the bad ones are sort of around the same voltage of like 1.61 for the bad ones, and all the good ones were around 1.54. So yeah, that was interesting. So the thing is, like, we're at, what, 3866 14 at 1.5 volts, so it's like we're not that far off 4014, so I'm already kind of like, is this going to even work? And apparently it is, because it passed the Dijkstra test. So in Geekbench, the hardest part to finish is Dijkstra for memory. Like, if you don't have enough memory voltage, Dijkstra is basically going to immediately crash. Well, not necessarily. Like, it depends how close you are to not having enough memory voltage, right? If you're off by a little bit, it'll crash very. It'll error out or maybe lock up. If you're off by a lot, then it locks up very quickly. Anyway, so nice little performance uplift there with 7,790 points now. And we've only touched the primaries. If you also did all the subtimings at this point, I'd be expecting it to easily do over 8,000 points. So now we're going to go up to... The thing is, I want to avoid this actually crashing. I don't really feel like resetting and reloading a profile. I do have a profile, but I just don't feel like reloading it. So we're going to loosen it out. Because the thing with dual rank memory sticks that's always the biggest challenge is not so much can you do tight timings at low frequencies, and these are obviously very capable in that department, so I'm already pleased with that. Like 3866 14, like, you know, it passed Geekbench with cleanly, no errors, no nothing. So again, not fully stable, but not bad. Like, definitely not bad. There's potential in these sticks to be amazing. Now the question is, can we boot them at high frequencies? Because that's normally like the thing that when you run dual rank, that's where things fall apart. Is like, dual rank would be great if it weren't for the fact that it clocks, like a lot of the time it clocks really badly. So that's kind of my main concern with these sticks, and that's the thing I want to test with them most, at least for this video. And 4,000 just works. Cool, 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 cool. So I'm hoping for like 4266 with this, but we're going to go to 4133 first. The memory controller is probably going to start complaining, which is also why I have 1.4 volt system agent voltage set, because, well, one, that's the maximum voltage you should go up to for like day-to-day usage, and two, it solves a lot of the sort of like memory, that's more system agent voltage is like basically how you brute force higher frequencies in any kind of memory configuration. So like this CPU, if I want to run 4700 megahertz on this motherboard, I need a 1.5 volt system agent. Well, it'll technically like boot and get into Windows at lower voltages, but it won't be very, like, you can't run even basic benchmarks, much less a stress test. So yeah, anyway. And there are good, there are better CPUs that need less system agent, but let's see if 4266 works. This one's memory controller doesn't seem to be particularly great. And that's an immediate 55, so, right, like you saw the 55 code, and again, right, this is what the postcode is useful for, so I'm thinking more system agent, loosen out TRCD maybe, actually definitely loosen out TRCD and more system agent voltage. I can worry about fixing the timings later. Like, as I said, the biggest challenge is, like, can we boot high frequencies? And admittedly, with this motherboard, I don't really expect it to go over 4266. But this was the first motherboard that I had. Like, this motherboard was already on my desk. So, so that's kind of how this board ended. Like, ideally, right now, I'd be testing this on the Maximus 12 Apex, not on a Z4, not on the Unify, because this is a 4-DIMM motherboard. You know, also, I mean, for a 4266 dual rank is still solid, right, for day-to-day performance, but for competitive overclocking, or actually 4133, like, for day-to-day is just fine, but for competitive benchmarking, which is kind of what I intend to use this hope to use this memory kit for, is too slow. It's too slow. And the Maximus 12 Apex has, like, a whole bunch of optimizations to make dual rank work really well. And still 55. So yeah, I'm definitely going to drop the TRCD because 1.5 volt system agent didn't do anything. And when I say drop the TRCD, I actually mean raise it, which is annoying. Right, I'm not gonna go from 16 to 14. I'm gonna go from 16 to like 20. Yeah, we're gonna go to 20. The thing with Intel platforms is you also have to set your TRP. Well, you don't have to set it, but the thing is TRCD and TRP are linked, so basically that you should have them set to the same thing, because if you set one of them to a different value from the other, I'm not sure which one takes priority. Like, I'm not sure if it's the highest value takes priority, or if there's a preference, like the motherboard has a preference for one of them. But basically, if you set them, like, if I set 20 and 16, it's not gonna, like, that's not a thing. You can't have 16, 20, 16 on an Intel CPU. You could have that on Ryzen, but not on Intel. On Intel, you have to have 20, 20 or 16, 16. You can't have anything else. So it just failed to post again. So luckily, this board is really quick to recover, so that's good. And that's a bit annoying that the frequency doesn't go any higher. I'm going to try that. Like, that's going to cost us performance, but I'm just trying to force it to start. And I don't think that actually worked. Yeah, no, it didn't. Okay, so I guess, you know what, let's dial this in a bit. And actually get, like, a decent Geekbench score out of this at 4133. Because 4133 works. And Geekbench is, like, a frequency hog. Like, for whatever reason, that benchmark scales with memory frequency above, like, basically everything else. Like, it scales with timings, yeah, but for whatever reason, it really loves high clock speeds. Even if your, like, timings aren't really that great, or, like, it still really likes clock speed, so it's a bit weird like that. Which is also part of the reason why ultimately I prefer using something like LinPack, because LinPack actually does math, whereas Geekbench has a really synthetic memory bandwidth test built into it. It's not as bad as, like, IDA's bandwidth test. That one has, like, IDA's bandwidth test doesn't care for, like, TRRD timings, for example. So you can get, like, a perfectly good IDA score and then absolutely atrocious performance in any kind of AVX-based workloads. And, well, that's just annoying as far as I'm concerned. Gonna leave that alone. Yes, 12, 12, 12. These on auto. And this is not fully optimized. I'm just doing, like, basic, easy tweaks to try get some more performance out of this. And, right, that one's limited to 2. That should be fine. And that trains just fine and boots right up. So if I had to guess, that's going to score... So the previous score was 7,790. That was at 3866. I want to say 8,500? So, but the dims seem solid. Like, these definitely seem like, at least these two. There's, like, I still have another two more, you know, another two sticks to go through, but... Yeah, these certainly have potential. Please pass. Please. Ah, good. I wonder if these might run 413315. Like, at this point, it wouldn't make much of a difference. Like, you remember how when I went from 3200 16 18 18 to 14 14 14, it didn't really do anything. Well, we're right now we're at 16 16 16. So going from 16 16 16 to 15 15 15 is not going to do much. So there's not like if I would, you know, if I wanted to max it out. Oh, whoa. That actually, so I was like 8.5K, but no. The power of dual rank right there, almost 9,000 points, and I didn't even have to do anything. Like the settings are really, really just basic. So yeah, that's a nice memory score right there. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with these. I was super worried because like these are 3200 CL16 by spec, right? Which is just like that is not a spec that inspires confidence, because that's where you get your Samsung C-die sticks. Admittedly, these are too old to be Samsung C-die. These are from 2018, so they can't be Samsung C-die, but it's still one of those things that, you know, it's like, yeah. Like 3200 CL16 is generally not a is not where you get your best memory chips. But, looks like I got lucky today. So yeah, that's the kit right there. It even CPUs even tells you that you're on dual rank. There's the memory settings. Actually, I should have Asrock timing configurator on this, which is a great little utility from Asrock for checking all of your memory timings. Now, if I could just find, there we go. Yeah, so you can check all of your timings through this. Interesting. So all of those 12s that I punched in are now 11s. Weird. Oh, it even trained proper RTLs at 4133. That's surprising. Like, normally at the higher speeds with dual rank, these just go straight to hell. Like, instead of 8, you get, like, 15. Which actually has a pretty significant performance impact. So that is interesting. And that can actually be affected by the memory sticks. So... Though at the same time, I'm running 1.5 volt system agent, which also helps with that. So, yeah. TCWL18 is not optimal, but this motherboard has some weird training issues if you start lowering it. So that's why I left it on auto, is just like, I don't trust this motherboard. Like, it'll run basically any memory kit. It's just, as far as the actual timings goes, it is not optimal. Compared to, like, it doesn't go as low as some of the other boards I have. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for this video. So I guess thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. If you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, I have a Patreon where you can support me directly. There's a link to that down in the description. And then there's also the HOC Teespring store where you can pick up shirts, stickers, posters, you know, the usual YouTuber merch. And there's a link to that down in the description below as well. Both of them, both the Patreon and Teespring, help out immensely with running the channel and allow me to do things like buy 3200 CL16 memory kits off of eBay. This was really worth it, though. Like, this is great, because this cost me as much as, like, a 30... Like, if I was buying a 3600 CL16 dual rank kit new in store, it would basically cost the same as what this cost me. So like I have twice as much dual rank B die for the same price as if I was buying a new kit. So this was totally worth it. I'm so glad I ended up going for it. Like I was super hesitant about picking it up, and then I was like, oh well, worst case scenario, I'll just like get rid, like, I don't know. Actually, yeah, like I just have to sell it again. But yeah, this was totally worth it. Like these are actually pretty good dims. Now I still need to test them at like high voltages, but the initial low voltage stuff, like on Ryzen, these are going to be just fine. And yeah, so that's it for the video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.